What is up, Steeler Nation? We are back for another great week on the one and only, the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. Well, this weekend, football was officially back, and the Pittsburgh Steelers did everything, got out of there with no injuries. I was cracking up, Mike, because you know how Tomlin it is, after game pressers. No one had any questions. I don't know if you've seen that clip. Just all around great football from both quarterbacks. Honestly, one of the people who really surprised me was Skylar Thompson. It was great because I remember when Tua went down in Miami and he came in for that playoff game. So it was really cool to see those guys get the shine. Obviously, everyone wanted to see Will Howard, but yeah, we have a great week of shows lined up. And yeah, how's everything? I know there's some big stuff happening in your life as well.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with the Steelers. You can't go 20-0 unless you win the first preseason game. So,
Yeah.
so here we come. But yeah, I totally agree. Skylar looked good. Mason looked good. We'll definitely get into it a little bit more with our guest today. Is he certainly in tune with Pittsburgh sports, and we're excited to chat with him. So Shane, go ahead and run it, and we'll bring him on.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Aaron Smith shields. Flacco, Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Well, we are really stoked to invite our next guest on. He is none other than sports reporter for the Pittsburgh Union Progress and former elite beer pong player. Had to add that one in there. That's the most important statistic when you find this guy. He is none other than Brad Everett.
Brad, what do you mean former? You got to still have it in you.
I mean, I do have it in me. I just never get the opportunity to play anymore. That's the problem. But I mean, I know that
never say never.
I mean, like, if you put me into a frat party down at Pitt or Duquesne, I will run people. And I know there's probably a lot of kids out there, might be watching this show that are like, man, like, Unc is full of crap out there. But I'm serious. Like, I could still play if I have to. Like, I could play.
Bike, it's riding a bike, man.
I'm glad we cleared that up, too, because I know that's what our viewers were watching this for, especially. So go ahead, Mike. Good stuff.
Yeah. Listen, obviously, we're excited to get some of your high school insight moving forward, but want to talk Steelers first. Certainly the hot topic anytime this time of year in the Berg. So, assuming that you've watched or at least caught up a little bit on the highlights of the first preseason game, for you, what were some positives from that game?
Just want to say first off, thanks to you guys for having me on here. It's not every day that a guy who focuses on high school sports gets to be on a Steelers or an NFL podcast. So, I feel honored, and I feel like I'm representing all the high school writers out there, they're on this podcast. So thanks for having me. But
it's where it all starts.
That's right. That's exactly it. I thought the quarterback play, of course, that's what a lot of people were talking about. And, between Skylar Thompson and Mason Rudolph, I think you see that if anything does happen with Aaron Rodgers, if there's a lack of production, if there's an injury, which as we've seen in recent years, there's a pretty decent possibility of that, there are some pretty good options behind him. We knew what there was in Mason Rudolph, and it was good to see that he still had it. And, we've never really seen too much of Skylar Thompson, and, he went out and balled out. So that was really impressive. And it was cool to see the big guy, Mount Washington, out there catching a touchdown pass. That was big time. It was good to see him produce. Of course, that tight end room, ton of talent in there. So, but, just overall, just looking forward to seeing more of the main guys out there, hopefully starting here this upcoming week.
Could you imagine Mount Washington playing beer pong? The guy could just reach over. And
you would have an unbelievable, you would have to have some sort of reach rule that he couldn't reach past a certain point or something. I mean, would you really want to be the one telling him the rules? I mean, he's the one that makes the rules, I think, basically.
Good point.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Back every time or something like that. But we got to get you versus Mount Washington live on a podcast one of these days.
We'll work on it.
Yeah, that would be sick.
I think I'd have a much better chance playing beer pong than if it was a food eating competition. I bet he could probably throw down a few dozen wings. I most definitely can't.
Yeah, we're not going to put you guys out there in pads either, defending and receiving. You talked about quarterbacks, so obviously want to transition to Rodgers a little bit. I know there's been mixed opinions. I'm on one side of this coin, but do you think Rodgers should play in the preseason or take any snaps?
I don't think so. Is it needed? I think he's getting enough reps in practice, and you're throwing to those same players. And it's just, man, just as these years go by, I think teams are realizing more and more and more that how much investment they have in these guys, and it's just not worth it. I mean, is he going to get hurt if he plays? Probably not. He'll probably be fine, but there's that what if out there. And I just don't think you take a chance with someone like that. And it's not like you're paying him 40 or 50 million a year, but he is your guy. And I think you have to protect him.
Good, Troy.
So let's talk about another situation. Obviously, TJ Watt was signed before camp, so that was good. And now we have the Cam Heyward contract situation. How surprising do you think this is, and how soon do you think that they could come to an agreement, if any?
I mean, I think it was a surprise mainly because he signed that contract last year. And it's like, man, like, buddy, like a year later, you're already trying to renegotiate here. Yeah. And, it's definitely worrisome a little bit just as a fan because the implications that it could have long-term on the cap. And, I feel like they're going to do good by Cam and that they're probably going to eventually give into him. But is that the right way to go? I don't know. He's a guy that means obviously so much to the franchise, and he's a great Steeler and black and gold through and through. And it was definitely a surprise. And then, with the Chris Boswell stuff there too. So definitely. Hey, I mean, I think when Rodgers signed, I think people were like, okay, this is actually going to be a drama-free camp. Like there's going to be nothing, like no big drama going on. But as it turns out, there ended up being drama.
Yeah, and it's Cam of all people. And I get it, like totally. Like he does so much for this community, but like at the end of the day, football is a business. You agreed to a contract. Like I get these guys, they only have a short span of career. Cam was fortunate to, prolong that. And he did have a great year. He definitely earned his paycheck, but it's like, how much money is enough money at this point? It's like, not really much success in the playoffs. Again, great guy, like you said, through and through, Steeler, black and gold for life. But at the end of the day, this is a business, and the goal is to win a Super Bowl. And dishing out more money long term, even in the short term, with the short window that we have with the quarterback, as you alluded to, I just think it's drama, and I hope that they could come to an agreement. But at the end of the day, you agreed to it, stick with it. With that being said, I have one more before I throw it back to Mike. What do you think that the Steelers, ceiling is winning wise? Like, what would be a successful season, in your eyes for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Obviously, we want to see a playoff win, but what would be, you would be able to sit back and say, okay, like this was a good decision bringing in Aaron Rodgers, and this is going in the right direction as opposed to in purgatory like we've been?
I think probably, that maybe one playoff win at least. I think that's a good step forward. I think most Steeler fans would be like, well, Super Bowl or bust. But I think for a lot of people though, I think we're a little bit more realistic about it. And this while it's a talented roster, it's probably not the most talented in the league. And you have teams out there that are the Chiefs and the Bills and all these teams just in the AFC, and it's going to be tough. But I mean, I think a playoff win, I think that would be a big step up. I think maybe can they go 10-7? Can they go 11-6? Maybe I think that's all part of it. But I mean, like, I don't think their floor is too low, but how high is their ceiling? I don't know. Like, is this a Super Bowl, like a possible Super Bowl team in your eyes? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's transition over to high school ball. I know that obviously you've done a lot of work on that recently. I'm seeing the first day of camp. So that's very exciting. I think a lot of our viewers probably be most interested in who are some of the top players in the WPIAL. There's nothing like Western Pennsylvania high school ball, man. It's incredible. You look at some of the names just across the NFL. I think unless you're from Western PA, you really don't appreciate it as much as you should, especially in national landscape. But who are some of the top guys we should have our eyes on that could be playing at some real powerhouses next year?
Yeah, so we definitely have a lot of star power there this year. Probably the biggest recruit would be a kid named Keemon Spell. He's a running back from McKeesport High School. He's a junior, number 1 ranked running back in the country in the junior class. Whoa. So he is very highly regarded. I think he's as high as number 8 nationally overall. Penn State recruit, had offers from all around. I've covered high school sports here in Western PA for about 25 years, and he's the comparison for him is a lot like a guy that also played at McKeesport, and that was Khaleke Hudson, that has spent some time in the NFL. And Khaleke was a running back in high school as well. And Khaleke I remember even as like a 9th and 10th grader, he had this thick neck, and he was just so powerful. And it was like, man, like this, like, did he come out of the womb? Like, like bench pressing? I mean, like he was just like a physical specimen, and Keemon spells that same way. Yeah. And plus he has speed and he has moves, and he is just a man out there. So, and he's only a junior. So he's going to be fun to watch this year. Central Catholic, perennial, powerhouse in the area. Big offensive line this year. A lot of talent all around, but their offensive line, I think they average about 6'6", 285. So, for a high school line, that's pretty big. And they have a kid named Jimmy Callis that's a junior on that team. He's another big-time recruit. He's an offensive lineman, I think 6'6", about 290 or so. His father, Todd, was an offensive lineman in the league, played for the Vikings for a while. So he has the bloodlines there too. And just thinking about the Steeler game from the other night, that 70-yard field goal, the guy from the Jaguars, I still can't get over that. Well, we have some good kickers in the area, including a kid named Haran Zurikot that's at Fox Chapel. He's a senior. He's committed to the University of Georgia. So, I mean, pretty big-time kid if Georgia is, they're recruiting you. Full scholarship too, not just, come in, let's see how you do. I mean, he's going to be on full scholarship. So, and he's a good story. Like, his parents actually came from the country of Jordan. And he's grown up here in the States, and he's developed into a great kicker. And, he's going to be going off to Georgia. So the WPIAL record for longest field goal was 55 yards. And somebody matched it last year, kid from Hopewell, Rocco Marcantonio, he matched it, but I wouldn't be surprised if Haran Zurikot from Fox Chapel breaks it this year. He tried it last year, he missed it, but I bet he hits one from over 55 and breaks the record. Like, some of these kids nowadays, they are just, these legs are just amazing. I mean, as we see in the NFL and in college, I mean, kicks that like 20 years ago nobody was making. Now it's becoming like, pretty normal that a guy makes a 60-yard field goal. It's just insane. So, I mean, those are the few of the top kids that come to mind. And but talent all around. Pine Richland, they have a kid named Khalil Taylor, another kid, one of the top wide receivers in the country, junior class. He's a transfer from Seton LaSalle. So it's going to be a fun season. Starts not this Friday, but next Friday are the first games. And I'll be out there covering games. Can't wait.
All right, I'm going to take you back. Awesome. Might catch you off guard. Jordan and I are Valley High School graduates.
Whoa, okay. Yeah. I did not know that.
Same class.
Yeah.
And we were just a bit younger than Tony Clemens.
I was just going to bring up Tony Clemens. Yep.
And Tyler Santucci. We're both.
Okay.
But what do you remember from those guys?
I mean, so I didn't really cover Santucci too much. Where's he at? Like, he was the Duke.
He's with the Ravens now. Yeah, he's with the Ravens. Shout out Tyler. Yeah, doing his thing. He was with Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech. That's right.
Yeah.
So I don't think I did a lot of stuff on Tony Clemens. Sure. A Valley kid I have done a lot of stuff on, but he didn't end up going to Valley, was Sky Moore. Sky Moore from New Kensington, and he ended up going to Shady Side Academy.
Side.
Yeah. So, like, I've done a lot of stuff, even with him with the Chiefs, and, guy that's given a lot back to the community there in Valley and in New Ken. So, but yeah, really didn't cover Tony a little bit. I remember his sisters being very good athletes too, like track stars. It just seemed like a really athletic family overall.
Yeah. Sky Moore, I mean, touchdown pass in the Super Bowl, winning touchdown pass in the Super Bowl. I remember. You remember Jordan? New Ken had a Sky Moore Day parade.
Dude, I remember watching him in Arken. He's closer to my brother's age, and I think then and there, even at that level, people knew that he was going to have an impact. So it's great to see someone locally recently. Obviously, growing up, Tony was like, there was recruits there every day. This was like just when the camera phones started coming out, so. The highlight tapes, everything. I'm sure Rivals is still around, but, people would put together their things so recruiters can come and see them. It was just great stuff. He brought a lot of excitement to the football season, and very fortunate for that. Still a good friend of ours. And it was cool getting drafted by the hometown team.
We got to see a lot of Terrell Pryor too.
Yeah. Who is actually Tony's cousin, and also Steve Breston is Tony's cousin, another WPIAL guy. But yeah, before we get you out of here, I know the Steelers, shout out to our guy, Joe Lofton. He does a lot with the Steelers in the high school. I know they showcase. I was actually up at training camp talking to him up at Friday Night Lights, and the Steelers are, really involved. Just talk about, I know that they send players there every week and do like a game. Like, are you going to be, covering any of those games? And what does it mean, obviously, to have such a historical franchise be a part of, the high school football scene? And I always tell everyone, high school football, especially any sport, that's where you really play, for the love of the game. Like that's a brotherhood. Mm-hmm. Now with the NIL in college, it's a little bit different. You're trying to get to the league, but that's like the, really where, you're playing with your heart and soul and going out to battle. Just kind of talk about the Steelers' impact on the high school football scene in Western Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I think it's definitely cool. Between that, I think it's called the Steelers High School Football Showcase that they have on Friday nights. And actually, a good friend of mine that I do a podcast with, the WPIAL Insider podcast, Matt Fargo, who does the.
I know that.
So like Matt does the play-by-play for that, and he does an outstanding job. And it's so cool seeing the Steelers come on there every Friday night, and they interview them, and they're almost kids about, they're almost kids again. It takes them back to their high school days, and just the crowd and just the smell of the concession stand and just everything that comes with, the bands and just everything that comes with a Friday high school, football. And it's always cool seeing that. And it's cool the Steelers do that. And they do other things. I know they do a high school coach of the week too, where they bring in, I think it's like one or two coaches a week, and they honor them during a Steeler game. So that's neat too. And, just to have that connection that, this is this, major sports franchise, like one of the most famous ones in the world. And for you to have, for just these high school coaches, high school kids to have that access to them. And really too, a lot of these kids, a lot of the top end kids, they train down at the UPMC, center down the South Side. So they're training right alongside those, Steelers and Pitt Panthers and everything down there too. So it's definitely neat to have that, just to have that connection. They do a great job.
Oh, hey, we really appreciate you having on the podcast. Appreciate everything you do for high school sports and high school football as well. Why don't you tell everyone where they can check out your work and what you have coming up next as well?
So you can check out, it's the Pittsburgh Union Progress. We're at unionprogress.com. And we're going to start unveiling our high school football preview starting this upcoming Sunday. And we'll have previews, class by class previews and features and rankings. And I have a top 10 things I'm looking forward to this season column on there too. So definitely be a lot of content. Gonna try to make it out to a few more camps this week, do some more stories. So a lot of great content coming ahead, and just looking forward to a great 2025 season.
Dude, you took me back. I could taste like the $1 walking taco.
Yes. I actually wrote about the column I did. I actually included a note about a walking taco. That was one of the concession stands I went to. They had a walking tacos, they had meatball hoagies, and they had halushki.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
Like being like part Polish, part Serbian guy, like when I see that halushki or pierogies at a concession stand, you can't pass it up.
Yeah, they don't like that down here in South Florida. That's for sure. That's what a walking taco is a lot of times, to be honest with you. Probably because like sushi at their high school games and whatnot. Hey, it's been a pleasure. Let's do it again sometime. All right.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care. All right.
You
Brad.
too.
I had to throw that out. Rarely get to talk about Valley and our roots, and nobody knows that stuff really that watch our show. Maybe outside of a couple people we know, and aunts and uncles. But they would know it with you more so. But it's really cool to think about.
I mean, that's what I told high school football is that's a brotherhood. Any sport really in high school. That's we've been friends since high school, really preschool. So how that goes, but really excited for this Steeler team this year now. And Brad said it. It's good to have how backup quarterbacks, how serviceable they need to be. Seeing Mason Schuyler out there. It was really impressive. And again, it was just nice to watch. I will say this until I'm blue in the face, to not have anxiety. And we have a lot of these guys on the podcast that are trying to make the 53-man roster. So it's great to see them. Someone who really needs to step up for me is Broderick Jones. I would say he's the biggest one that, I'm watching for leading up till the season. As far as the defense, obviously you're not going to see a lot of those guys, Ramsey. And I get it. I think that giving Aaron Rodgers like a couple series, maybe one series here, one series there, but like he said it himself, it's meaningless football, and it's better just to, just be ready week one without any injuries. If you could get out of every preseason game with little to no injuries, it's a win, no matter what the scoreboard says. But it's always nice to start off with a win.
Yeah, I do want him to play, but I only want him to play one series. I just think it would be, and people would be like, oh, what's one series? What's the difference? Well, being on the field with the crowd and just being under center and getting your rhythm down, getting your cadence down, and, a couple handoffs, a couple, a quick slant. Like,
I don't think it could hurt.
Whatever. If it gets intercepted and you throw it in 2 seconds, who cares? It's preseason. People will overreact. But I just kind of want him to get that stadium feel. Obviously, listen, he's played 21 years. He has that stadium feel already.
Yeah.
Team, it's a new system, and reportedly there has been some snap issues with Zach Frazier at center. So just get in there, take a couple snaps, feel comfortable, have a laugh. But yeah, anything more than that is overkill. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to lose my marbles if he doesn't get a couple of snaps,
Yeah, but it's here. Again, every weekend now we have football. College will be starting up. So just exciting stuff from high school, college to the pros. It's the most wonderful time of the year. And we thank you guys for hanging out with us. We're going to be unrolling some stuff here in the next few weeks for the upcoming season. Really, really excited. I think this is the most excited I've ever been. Like I said, my optimism meter definitely shot up, I guess you can say, with the Rodgers signing. At first, I'll be honest, it's still not my first. I was, willing to give Mason a chance. But at the end of the day, when you get someone of his caliber, and it seems like, when I was up at camp, he has a good, I think he's just wanting to play football.
You're fresh off Friday Night Lights. Anytime you go to Friday Night Lights and you take in that vibe, it's like, here we go. It's a game changer.
It is. So, but we appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. Make sure you subscribe. Shane, take it away.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.